Welcome back, everybody, for another round of Charlie Brown politics. How many of you out there happen to remember this video? Let me pull this up real quick.
This week has been good bipartisan cooperation and a string of
Alright, you guys remember this video, okay? It's Mitch McConnell having some type of medical episode. I don't know if it's something to do with his heart, but he freezes, and it's not the first time he does this. So, yes, there's theories out there that it's something to do medical. I have a different theory that I just want to throw out there. Maybe we live in a simulation, and if you happen to say the right words or the right combination of words, it makes you glitch out. And what other pieces of evidence do I have for this? Let me show you. Recently, there has been a very viral breaking news interview with Dave Smith and RFK Jr. And during this interview, I think Dave Smith figured out how to Mitch McConnell RFK Jr. So there's a lot to react in here, but let's just get this going, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, okay?
What does Hamas want? Hamas has said what it wants is, the end of Israel.
Well, at different times they've said that. At certain points, they've also said that they would accept 1967 borders. So it would have been great if Israel had taken them up on that when they said it.
Let me just ask you this. Let me ask you this. In 2008 and 2001, and they refused.
And this is where he's going to short circuit.
Do you have, I don't agree with that, but okay. Do you have concerns about the level of Israeli influence in our politics here in the United States of America?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, man.
I'm not,
So did Dave Smith figure out how to briefly short circuit RFK Jr. on that? So I'll play that again, but before I do, this is going to be one of the first interviews that I've seen of RFK Jr. where he gets legitimate pushback on the Israel and Palestine issue by somebody who knows what they're talking about. So it's very nice to see everybody is still waiting on the Max Blumenthal debate that RFK Jr. promised over this topic, or at least a discussion. We're all waiting on that. So let's rewind that a little bit more, and I'll let it play again, and we'll just keep watching.
The level of Israeli influence in our politics here in the United States of America?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, man.
I'm not a politician in political office, so I don't see much of that.
Okay, so the question was, are you concerned about the amount of influence that Israeli lobbyists have over American politics, American Congress? And RFK says, I'm not a politician. I'm not an elected politician yet. I don't see much of that. So what's he really trying to say here? That's a straight up lie, isn't it? He is an environmental lawyer that knows the inner workings of the government. He has sued major corporations like Monsanto, and he knows the impact that they have on our government here. And so to sit there and say he can't see how Israel's lobby doesn't have any type of impact, that's a straight up lie. So let's let it continue a little bit further, and then I'll show you guys.
You don't think so in after 9/11?
I think everybody has, that there's so many malevolent influences on Capitol Hill. And they include many nations, and they include many, corporate entities. Oh, and I want to have a real democracy in our country where you get the money out of politics and the influence out of politics. That's what I would like, and have publicly funded elections. Oh, I don't think anybody, but do I think the Israelis have more influence than others? David, I believe in supporting Israel, that it's important for the United.
Okay, and notice how he did not answer that. He said, "Do I believe that Israel has more influence than others?" And then he doesn't answer it. I'll back it up a little bit.
That there's so many malevolent influences on Capitol Hill, and they include many nations, and they include many, corporate entities. Oh, and I want to have a real democracy in our country where you get the money out of politics and the influence out of politics. That's what I would like, and have publicly funded elections. Oh, I don't think anybody, but do I think the Israelis have more influence than others? David, I believe in supporting Israel, that it's important for the United States. And you and I can disagree on that, I believe. And
Okay. And so you saw how he didn't answer that question. And you saw how he pretty much lied about how he doesn't see the inner workings or the influence that the Israeli lobby has on our government. Okay, so let me just pull up another video here to show you guys, some hypocrisy.
a polarization in this country today that is so toxic and so dangerous, and at any time since the Civil War. During the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." And when I talk to both Republican friends and Democratic friends, they talk about this division in almost apocalyptical terms. Nobody can see a safe way or a good way out of it. And people are preparing for a kind of a dystopian future. And one of the principal missions of my campaign and on my presidency is going to be to end that division. And I'm going to try to do that by encouraging people to talk about the values that we have in common rather than the issues that keep us apart. I'm going to do that by telling the truth to the American people.
All right, and so that's the part, okay, ladies and gentlemen, that I wanted to show you right there. So that was from his opening speech, from like his announcement speech when he said that he's going to start running for president. He has proclaimed that he will tell us the truth, and that's what's going to heal the divide. Well, are you telling the truth right now, Bobby, on Israel's influence on us? So I just wanted to pull up that video to just show you some hypocrisy from him, which it's really disappointing, because before I knew RFK was a Zionist freak, I actually had some hopes for him, and I really liked a lot of the work he was doing beforehand. But don't have heroes, people. They'll disappoint you. But let's keep going.
I believe our aid to Israel at $4 billion a year is designed to keep the peace over there.
Sir, you've been such a critic and such an effective critic. You've been such an effective critic of the neoconservatives.
I am a critic of the neoconservatives.
Yes, I know. That's what I just said. You know that these two issues are so intertwined. And I know you know that, because I know you know this stuff. But look, the report.
I mean, David, again, I would vote for World War II. Right? I would not vote for any other war. The neocons vote for every war.
You're voting for this war.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Then why are you supporting this war? What was the World War II reference bringing up? I don't know. I don't get that part.
Opposition to the Afghan war, to the Iraq war, to Panama.
Oh, okay, fine. But
Vietnam.
listen,
I was
okay, fine. But this is all I'm saying.
Vietnam. So all of these wars.
Look.
But I'm just saying, I don't want to live in a world where I think it would be bad for our country. It would be bad for the world to eliminate the only democracy in the Mideast.
They're not really a democracy if you include the West Bank in there, are they? I mean, you can say they're not occupying.
Israel wants to give the West Bank back. All they're asking for is a recognition, which no Palestinian.
And I just did a few videos on my channel and on Arbian, the live stream that I do on Revolutionary Blackout Long Beach, where it was showing Arab Israelis and the treatment that they have been receiving since October 7th, and how they've been treated. They've been beaten and arrested for posting things on Facebook, just the slightest amount of disagreement towards the government, and there's many more examples. So I would have to agree with Dave on this. Israel, it's tough to call them a democracy. They're a democracy just like America is a democracy.
Okay.
Official has ever made.
Fine.
Recognition that Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish state. That's all they wanted.
Okay. Well, you add in a Jewish state. Yasser Arafat recognized the right to exist under 1967.
Not as a Jewish state.
Oh, now it has to be said as a Jewish state too. Okay, fine.
Well,
okay, fine. Okay. So
I mean,
if we recognize, if you want to say the danger of Israel not existing, I think actually the current course, which you've pledged to support as president, is probably the biggest risk to Israel not existing. But the point I was making before, let me just finish my point, and then I'll give you the last word. Okay. The point I was making before is that, look, you talk about being a sharp critic of these neoconservatives, and if you go read the letter "A Clean Break," which was written by Richard Pearl and David Wormser, okay, and this is what outlined in 1996 the desire to fight the war in Iraq.
And you can't trust a man that can't take a drink of water without using one hand. Okay, just quick observation there.
Iraq, and you know who that was written to, right? It wasn't written to Bill Clinton.
It was the PNAC document.
Well, no, but specifically A Clean Break was written to Benjamin Netanyahu. They're very much all involved. And look, sir.
Why are you trying to connect me to Benjamin Netanyahu?
I'm not trying to connect you.
I don't like the cons.
Because he's the prime minister of the country who you're pledging to fund their war. So of course I have to bring up who he is. I'm saying Benjamin Netanyahu, the man who you said as president, you will support his war until the end, give them everything they need. He has been, since the 1990s, lying to the American people, saying Iran is 5 years away from developing a nuclear weapon. Do you not have any misgivings about supporting someone in a foreign government who is lying the American people into a war which he wants us to fight, not them? It's not Israel who's going to be fighting a war with Iran. It's the young men in our country.
Okay, let me just before we end, let me clarify a couple things. One is,
great question, Dave.
I don't like Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't like the neocons. I don't want to be lumped in with them. There's 80%.
If he doesn't like the neocons, then why is he schlepping around with Rabbi Shmuley, the unholy Shmoley?
Of the Israeli public is now against Netanyahu. 90% of them support the action in Gaza as necessary to eliminate Hamas. Now, do I think that the action in Gaza could end up in the destruction of Israel, lead to a chain of events that ended up in the destruction of Israel? Do I worry about that? Yes. Do I worry that it could end up in a chain of events that could walk the world into World War III? Yes. I absolutely believe that. Do I believe that it is a good choice? No. Do I believe that it is the best option available? Yes. Because I think that kicking this down the road again, because the demonstration of strength that Hamas showed on October 7th where, 3,000 air, sea, land with rockets, backpack missile systems, and
Okay, I'm not trying to like downplay like anyone that was harmed that day, but look, the strength of Hamas that was displayed on October 7th, they were on, homemade like paragliders. There were reports of Hamas fighters seen running into there without shoes. These were people in flip flops and like, little and motorcycles, and somehow they pulled this thing together. So I don't know where he is getting like this full strength of Hamas. It's not like they actually have like military power or access to like anything like Israel has. So that's just ridiculous.
the equipment that they're now receiving from Iran and North Korea makes them a existential threat to Israel. And when they come back the next time, that they're perfectly willing to have a ceasefire, of course. And they'll use that to rearm. They're going to increase their prestige around the world because the world admires them for that October 7th attack. And if you ask me what I would have done as president, it's not what would have happened now. What I would have done is I would have, first of all, I'd end the Ukraine war so that we can talk directly to Putin. I bring Xi in, I bring Putin in, I bring Sisi in from Egypt, I bring Erdogan in from Turkey. And I'd say this war is not in any of our interests. The Chinese and the Russians don't want to, they don't want fundamentalist Islam conquering the Mideast and controlling the oil fields. They don't want that ultimately. We have a community of interest. If the Security Council the day after October 7th, on October 8th, had condemned Hamas and had demanded the prosecution of their leadership for war crimes, and if we then had pressured Qatar to arrest Ismail Haniyeh and Erdogan to arrest the leaders that are hiding in Ankara and brought them up to the World Court, then I think we'd be in a different world. What we did instead is we isolated Israel and we left them alone to solve the problem. And the only option they have, Dave, for solving this problem is very limited military option. And it would be my job as president to make sure this never happened.
That is their only option. Not to stop the occupation. How about stop counting how many calories go into Gaza? Stopping the occupation of the West Bank. And just another note on a previous point that he brought up, Israel being the only democracy in the Middle East. Let's just take that propaganda at face value, okay, and believe it. And just like I said, take it at face value just for the argument's sake. Why is that? Okay, would it be because America has overthrown every democratically elected government in the Middle East, especially any type of governments that lean left? Okay, you know what I'm talking about with Iran, with us overthrowing Mossadegh and installing the Shah. And there's plenty of other examples. And I know that Bobby knows this, so I don't understand why he's not applying this context to it as well. So I don't know. It's just truly disappointing.
Make sure that they had other options rather than military, but we don't have anybody in the White House today who understands even how to begin that process. They're still living in a bipolar world where, the America is superpower, everybody's got to do what we say. And they will not go and reach out to other leaders and say, let's convene and solve this problem together in ways where we can find common ground with each other. And I think that is necessary now. And that, it is tragic where we are, but I don't. And the reason I posted that post on October 7th because I knew what was going to happen. I knew the world was going to turn against Israel.
And so there you have it. That was, a little taste of it. Go watch the whole interview. I don't think it's until like halfway through that they get into the whole Israel discussion. Um, so thank you, Dave, for finally pushing back on RFK Jr. Nobody has really gone through and given him a good pushback on this. Lots of lots of interesting points, and God, it just is so disappointing because I had a lot of hope, like I said, a lot of encouragement for RFK when he first announced, and to come to find out his level of commitment to this Zionist idealism. Yeah, it's just disappointing. He's not the anti-war candidate that we thought. I don't know what Israel has on him. We know the work that Whitney Webb does and her connections showing that Israel is tied to the whole, Jeffrey E. thing and using power and influence to blackmail people in America to do the bidding of them. So is that what's going on? I don't know. Maybe not. It's what does Israel have over RFK to make him so beholden to this Zionistic view? Yep, but I wasn't gonna vote for him. Well, yeah, that's the red line for me. I wasn't gonna vote for him after finding that out. Um, so what are you guys thinking about this interview? It's going up, it's blowing up. You're gonna hear everybody talking about it. Let me know what your thoughts are on it. Please comment down below, like, share, subscribe, all of that, and I will catch you on the next episode of Charlie Brown Politics. Thank you guys.